Introduction. In 1781, British General Lord Charles Cornwallis surrendered to General George Washington's American force and French allies at the Battle of Yorktown. This event marked the end of the American Revolution's final major battle and the start of a new nation's independence. It also solidified Washington's reputation as a great leader and eventually led to his election as the first president of the United States. According to the Washington Library, Washington's victory at Yorktown increased his fame and interrupted his retirement at Mount Vernon, as he was called upon for more public service. Timelines. In 1780, 5,500 French troops, led by Comte de Rochambeau, arrived in Newport, Rhode Island to aid the Americans during the Revolutionary War. The British were fighting on two fronts, with General Henry Clinton in New York City and Cornwallis in South Carolina. The Americans needed a significant victory to convince the Peace Conference in Europe to grant independence to all 13 colonies. Washington and Rochambeau planned to attack Clinton with the help of more French forces, but when they learned that the French fleet was sailing to the Chesapeake Bay, they devised a new plan. Washington tricked Clinton into believing that the Continental Army was preparing to attack New York while secretly moving south to attack Cornwallis. He created large camps with brick bread ovens, allowing Clinton to see them and believe that the army was planning to stay there for a long time. Washington also prepared false papers discussing attack plans on Clinton and let them fall into British hands to further mislead them. Washington arrives in Yorktown. In September 1781, Washington and Rochambeau arrived in Williamsburg, Virginia, close to the tobacco port of Yorktown, where Cornwallis and his men had built a defense consisting of 10 small forts with artillery batteries and trenches. In response, Cornwallis asked Clinton for help, and the general promised a fleet of 5,000 British soldiers would sail from New York to Yorktown. With a small force remaining in New York, about 2,500 Americans and 4,000 French soldiers began digging their trenches 800 yards from the British, initiating a week-long artillery attack on October 9th. By October 11th, the heavy cannons had severely damaged most of the British guns, leaving Cornwallis vulnerable. However, he received news that Clinton's departure from New York was delayed. Washington ordered a new parallel trench to be dug 400 yards closer to the British lines on October 11th, but capturing the British redoubts No. 9 and No. 10 was necessary to complete it. The role of Alexander Hamilton. To capture redoubts No. 9 and No. 10, French troops were assigned to No. 9, while No. 10 was assigned to Colonel Alexander Hamilton, who wanted to improve his reputation by proving himself on the battlefield. To speed up the siege, Washington ordered the use of bayonets instead of cannon. On the night of October 14th, the Allies fired shells into the air that illuminated the sky. Hamilton and his men charged across a quarter-mile of field with bayonets, without firing their guns. The operation took less than 10 minutes and startled the British. General Cornwallis surrenders. The successful siege of the British redoubts No. 9 and No. 10 allowed the American and French forces to complete a parallel trench and ultimately trap British General Cornwallis's army. After attempting a failed sea evacuation and facing blockade, Cornwallis surrendered on October 19, 1781, marking the end of the American Revolution's last major battle and the beginning of a new nation's independence. The end of the Revolutionary War. After the Battle of Yorktown and the surrender of Cornwallis, the British Parliament passed a resolution in March 1782 calling for an end to the war. Despite still having 30,000 troops in North America, occupying New York, Charleston, and Savannah, the demoralizing loss at Yorktown decreased the British will to fight. The war officially ended on September 3, 1783, with the signing of the Treaty of Paris.